Welcome to the Disneyland with Kids podcast, where we help you plan vacations in 30 minutes or less. That is right. We are spilling some of our best, tried and true tips to make your vacation as magical as possible. Don't miss a single episode. Be sure to hit subscribe on Apple, Google Podcast, or your favorite podcast service. Welcome to the Disneyland with Kids Year in Review. I'm Julie from Mom Rewritten, and as we wrap up 2020, I am gathered virtually with my Disneyland with Kids co-owners, Jessica, Becca, and Leslie, whom I'll introduce in a minute. We're going to be chatting a bit about this past year in regards to the Disney parks, the long closure, what we might look forward to in 2021, and also how we're bringing some of the Disney magic home to our families. So we could all use a little of that Disney magic right now. It has been a challenging year for so many, but to put a little pixie dust on a difficult situation, let's focus instead on the positive first. So Walt Disney, despite facing much adversity in building his business, he always pushed forward. And I know we can all easily come up with something that's been over the top hard in 2020, but I'm going to ask each of you what your favorite Disney thing has been this year. So let's start with Becca. Becca, what's been your favorite?
I'm Becca from This Crazy Adventure Called Life, and I gotta tell you, I'm really glad you started with me. Because my favorite Disney thing is that I got to visit right before the closure and before lockdown. I get that one last trip in, and of course we were all there together. And just being able to have that last memory before the closures. And I just remember we did the dessert party for World of Color, and all of us sitting there singing along to the songs. That's probably my favorite thing, which is probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's my answer.
No, that was such a blessing. I'm so glad we were all able to be there together that last time. And who knew, who knew we were going to be there so long? It's been so long, it seems. So how about you, Leslie?
So I'm Leslie from Trips with Tykes, and to be honest, the blessing for me during all of the lockdowns and all of that has been Disney Plus. I mean, we've all been wanting a Disney streaming service for how long? And thank goodness it came out just a matter of months before this all happened with tons of content, because we have been consuming it at home. When we can't get our Disney fix in the parks, we're getting it on our smart TV.
Yes, I agree. I think Disney Plus has been such a blessing to so many people, especially with the movies closed, when you're not able to go to the theater. So it's nice that they've been able to release some of those movies straight to Disney Plus. So Jessica, how about you?
Well, I'm Jessica from The Happiest Blog on Earth. And while one of the highlights was, of course, being there with you ladies, I'm going to look back a little bit farther to January when I was able to go with my kids. And we were just reminiscing about this last night over dinner and talking about how the kids in our family are, one of few families who were able to go to Disneyland in 2020. And we had such a fun time getting onto Rise of the Resistance. We met up with you, Julie. We met up with some other friends. I mean, even just thinking about meeting up with friends at all sounds amazing. We had a spectacular day, me and my 3 kids, and made some memories that we've really been clinging to during 2020.
Yes, we've missed so much this year in the parks, and I can't wait until they reopen. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too. And so right now I'm going to, talk a little bit about what's affected us the most, and that's been Disneyland's closure. And, many of you know that Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida reopened earlier this year. So while none of us co-owners have made that cross-country trip, some of our Disneyland with Kids members have recently vacationed at Disney World. And we're hearing some positives and some negatives about the reopening there. So, Leslie, I'm going to turn to you. Let's talk about Disneyland. Do you think that Disneyland could safely reopen their parks here in California in 2021?
I think they certainly could. I mean, it's strange to be answering that question right now because we're recording this here at the end of 2020, and we all know the realities of COVID right now are pretty bleak, and this is definitely a dark moment for the country. But we all know that the winter's going to end and things are going to get better. And the vaccine rolled out today at the day we're recording, which is exciting. And so, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I do think Disneyland can open. I think Disney World has proven that even in bleaker times, there are ways that we can mitigate this. They've been just lights out with some of the enforcement in a way that pretty much no other business has been able to achieve. So that's really exciting. And, I do think that can translate to some success at Disneyland. And, of course, there are unique challenges at Disneyland. There's some tighter squeezes, some smaller walkways. But, if it can be done in a place with 4 giant parks and, a couple dozen hotels, then Disney's got the experience. And I think there's going to be some real success when Disneyland is finally able to reopen.
And I know it's hard to predict because we all kind of thought that Disneyland would be open before the end of this year. And obviously that's not happened and things have gotten worse than we could have ever expected. But do you foresee any kind of date?
Great question. My date in my own brain has changed so many times that I'm not even sure I know. But I think at this point, knowing what we know now, I am hoping for May 1. So I'm going on record. So you guys can let me know how crazy that is.
Yeah, it might be crazy, but let's all keep our fingers crossed. Okay, so the Downtown Disney District shopping area at the Disneyland Resort was able to reopen some of their business, and both Becca and Jessica were able to visit. So Jessica, what kind of positives did you see happening while you were there?
Well, one of my most recent visits to Downtown Disney, I really liked something that they had cast members doing. And that was when you were walking toward the gates of Disneyland and California Adventure, because from that point, you have a couple of options. You can go into the Backlot Premier shop to do some shopping, and you can go onto Buena Vista Street to do some shopping. And they had a cast member at kind of that entry point there asking if you were going to shop or you were going to take pictures. And we said, we're going to do both. And they said, all right, make sure you keep your masks on when you're taking pictures. And that's been a really big deal for Disney because they want pictures with your masks on because that's the policy right now. So they don't want pictures all throughout the internet with people not wearing masks because then it gives all of us the wrong impression that you don't have to wear masks when you actually do. And there's some pretty strict rules about face coverings. So I really liked how they mentioned that to you. And I would even like to see that taken a step further and station more cast members at places that people take photos. Like right now, we have the Christmas trees at Downtown Disney and different kind of photo hotspots just to remind people that masks need to stay on during photos.
So Jessica, you covered the positive. Now, Becca, what did you see during your visit to Downtown Disney that could use some work before the parks can safely reopen?
Oh man, I have to be the Debbie Downer here. So, I think the biggest one is just the crowds, and people are just hungry for Disneyland, and they want to be there. And you had days that the Downtown Disney District has been full by 11 a.m. You've had other times where there's an hour or two wait to get into Downtown Disney, and the line snaking around. And then of course you don't have cast members all the way back at the back of the line to ensure social distancing. So definitely they need to work a little bit on their crowd control and streamlining that entry process. And I just think they're also going to have to do, as Jessica mentioned, they're going to have more cast members out reminding people to wear masks. While mask compliance has been pretty good at Downtown Disney, there are definitely people that are taking their masks off to sneak pictures or, finding a spot where they take their masks off and and hang out with people. And so I think that's going to be the two things they're really going to need to work on, is streamlining the crowd control and then the just upping those cast members.
Yeah, well, everybody wants their Disney fix. And so I can imagine that it's going to be at capacity, whatever that is, when they reopen for a while.
Yeah, let me jump in there too and say that with Downtown Disney, the capacity fluctuates. Right now, it's only able to be at 20%. So just to kind of add on what Becca was saying, is that the issue with crowding is before people get in and the demand of people wanting to get into those shops. But once you're in there, in the specific shops, the capacity is greatly reduced due to local restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jessica, I know you mentioned that they were able to open the Buena Vista Street inside Disney California Adventure Park for dining and shopping. I mean, there's no rides, but there's a few food carts and outdoor restaurants and retail. And that's a great extension of Downtown Disney's reopening success. And it just seems that phased reopening is kind of the theme for many of the area amusement parks. They're just struggling to keep business moving forward. So earlier in the year, we were able to see how SeaWorld San Diego was able to reopen as a zoo. Legoland changed up their popular Halloween event. And those are topics we covered on previous podcast episodes. So Jessica, I'll start with you again. Buena Vista Street shopping and dining was a start in a positive direction. So how could Disneyland Resort take this a step further in a phased reopening plan?
Yeah, well, one thing we've seen with phased reopening is that things are going to ebb and flow. And we've definitely seen that happen at Downtown Disney. So they opened up an extension onto Buena Vista Street for shopping and dining. And currently, as we're recording, there is no dining happening right now. So they simply scaled back that dining and they actually opened more shopping. They brought more shopping carts outdoors to keep the flow going and get people to be able to do their holiday shopping and things like that. So being flexible is the key to the phased reopening. At one point, we were as far into reopening as having some inside dining at Downtown Disney restaurants. And now all we have is takeout only. But like I said, that flexibility is key. So wherever we fall on the spectrum of being able to open with local guidelines, Disney will respond to that. And I would love to see that happen in farther into California Adventure and into Disneyland. I know that Disney really wants to maintain their image and what their offering is, but I also feel like they need to make some adjustments, and that might mean to open the parks a little bit more so that we can have whatever is permitted at the time.
Leslie, do you have any other thoughts towards a safe phased reopening for Disneyland?
Yes, certainly. I think Jessica's right on point that flexibility truly is the key. And sometimes that's hard for an organization as big as Disney, as efficient as they are. They were, I think, hoping and watching and waiting for more of a full reopening and then weren't quite able to turn on a dime like maybe some of the smaller theme parks were. But what I am eyeing, at least from a personal perspective, is the hotels. We, of course, know that the Grand Californian was supposed to be reopened to DVC members right before the California stay-at-home order was issued. And of course, that was halted, right on the eve of that reopening. But I do think that that is the next phase, even before the theme parks, because as soon as the stay-at-home order is lifted, hotels can reopen to leisure travelers. And I know a lot of people, myself included, I'd love to go stay at the Grand or the Disneyland Hotel and just enjoy the pool and even just get takeout from some of the restaurants and be on Disney property and have that magic. So I think that could be a great gateway even before the rides themselves are open at the theme parks, just to get those 3 hotels open, because I do think the demand is there.
Yeah, I agree. And Becca, you live outside of the state of California, and I know that many travelers have hesitated about planning a future Disney trip, saying they don't want to come back to the parks if they have to wear a mask or if character dining hasn't returned. And I'm not sure we're ever going to see Disney resorts fully return to their pre-pandemic ways. But Becca, what are your thoughts on this? What changes do you think we'll be seeing when Disneyland reopens, and what aspects might not return?
Just like with any time you're trying to plan a trip, everyone's always like, what's the best time of year to go? It's all going to depend on what your priorities are. When they open, they're going to have a reduced capacity. We already know that this is pretty much a guarantee. And so if you are someone that just wants to go and do the rides, that's the perfect time to go when there's not as many crowds. Or if you don't like crowds, that might be a great time to go. But of course, we will see most likely face masks will be required. We won't have parades or shows. And you will need to, like Jessica mentioned, wear your face mask for pictures. So I always tell people if it's a once in a lifetime trip, you may want to hold off on going until we're closer to a pre-pandemic normal. But if you're going to go again another time, or you've been before, it might be a great time to go because you're going to have lower lines, social distancing, all of that. The other things I think we might not see return are we may not see Fast Pass return for a while. They have not brought back Fast Pass at Walt Disney World, so that is something we may not see. Again, also shows and parades may not return for a while. But other than that, I mean, after going to SeaWorld and seeing how they were able to manage some of the shows and other aspects, I feel there is a way. It's just what phase Disney wants to bring those things back in.
Yeah, so we've talked about what Disneyland's doing right now in a way of working within the state guidelines for a safe phased reopening. So let's move our discussion into 2021, and hopefully we'll start seeing the parks begin to operate more fully again. I mean, Disneyland closed its gates on March 14th, 2020, and we were there together in the parks just a few weeks prior to this. And can you believe it's been almost a year that Disneyland will be closed? And I don't think any of us were expecting that. I mean, I know I would have eaten more Disney snacks if I knew that was going to be my last visit in 2020. But Leslie, what would you have wished you had done the last time you were at Disneyland?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I would have joined you with the snacks, but I wish I had gone on more rides. I mean, the one thing that I am not good about doing when I go for business, which is what we were there for, we were there for a conference, is I sometimes don't do as many rides as I might with my kids. And I remember I did go to Carthay Circle on my last night, which I'm very, very glad I did, but I was really tired and I could have done a few more rides, and instead I went to bed. So I regret that.
And I'm shocked because you are a diehard. So Becca, what are you most excited about seeing or doing once Disneyland reopens?
Oh my gosh, just being in the parks. I mean, that's the thing for me. Like, I'm excited to take my kids again. My twins have both grown, and we knew that the one was already 40 inches, but he is now 42 inches. He's actually 44 inches. And the other one that was like 38 inches our last trip is now 42 inches as well. So we've got like a whole new world of rides opened up for our family to ride together. And I'm just super excited to take my twins on those big kid rides and not need to use Rider Switch Pass, even though I mean, I still wish we could.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat with you. My youngest is finally tall enough to go on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and we are so excited. She thinks that she's going to be excited. We think she doesn't know that that's a roller coaster. So we were all highly anticipating the grand opening of Avengers Campus in 2020. In fact, Jessica and I reported a podcast about it. So Jessica, what are your thoughts on Avengers Campus? Do you see this new Marvel-themed land opening soon after the park reopens?
Well, we did see some news about that from our friends at Mice Chat this week, who said that some cast members were actually able to test out one of the newest attractions at Avengers Campus. So that's super exciting that one of the attractions is ready to go. And honestly, I've heard analysts and other writers and bloggers, journalists say different things about Avengers Campus. One saying that they don't think it will open because they want it to open and it's grander. And they'll wait until things have returned to normal. But I think anything goes. we could see it open right along with the reopening, or we could see them wait. And they already started selling the spider bots, which is like the main souvenir for Avengers Campus. And they've sold some other memorabilia for Avengers Campus that was supposed to be on sale with the opening of the land. So they're giving us sneak peeks. I'd really like to see it open with the parks. I say, why not?
How about you, Leslie? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I do think they're not going to want to open it right away just because initially when the parks reopen, I do think they'll be at substantially reduced capacity. So I think it could be a good 3 to 6 months after that point before they do this big grand reopening. So I'm thinking fall at the earliest if I had to take a guess.
How about you, Becca?
I have absolutely no idea.
I mean, I
guessed
heard that like it
million
wasn't going to open
times.
till the new year. So, like the following year. So I been kind of excited that it would open earlier than that, but I don't have a lot of hope for that either.
Yeah, I have no clue because you know what? I never thought Disneyland would be closed for a year, and we're most definitely the chance of us opening before March 14th is so low that I mean, so I all bets are off. Anything could happen. I don't know.
That's right. Well, since this has been the year of no Disney parks for all four of us, we've been finding small ways to keep the magic alive for our families at home. So, Becca, I'll start with you. What Disney fun have you and your boys been having at home?
Oh man, we've been playing Disney board games. They came out with some good ones this year. So, we played the Jungle Cruise, it was okay. It was worth it, but not my favorite. But the Haunted Mansion game, man, that one is like that's a favorite in our house right now. So, we've been playing a lot of Disney games.
Okay, Jessica, how about you?
Oh my goodness. I've been making huge messes trying to recreate some Disney food at my house. And one of our favorite things we've been doing is kind of like a churro bar where you get all these toppings for different churros, buy some churros somewhere else. I have not made them from scratch because I'm not that adventurous. And we just dress up all these churros. So we did them for Halloween, we did them for holidays, and you can really just kind of spread out all these frostings and toppings and come up with your own creations and pretend you're at Disneyland.
Well, Leslie, your turn. What have you been doing at home with the kids other than plotting out your next adventure?
So we spent the first couple of weeks of the lockdown back in March and April building the giant castle, the Lego castle, which my husband and I had given to our kids for Christmas last year. And it's incredibly expensive, and we hemmed and hawed about it for weeks and weeks about whether we were going to have this splurge for the holidays. And thank goodness we did, because that's what my daughter did for several weeks when we first were just all truly stuck at home. So that was great. And then other than that, it's just been a lot of Disney Plus. We've been going deep on a lot of the historical Disney movies. Like my kids loved watching the original Swiss Family Robinson. So we've been really sort of doing the deep cuts on Disney Plus.
Well, I'm going to stay with Leslie on the next topic because I know she personally had to cancel several amazing Disney vacations in 2020. And I also know she's an incredible vacation planner. So I do know she's already looking forward to safe travel in 2021. So tell us how you're scheduling out your trips in 2021, Leslie, and where are you heading?
So I am planning so much, Julie, for 2021. Everything, of course, is contingent on, how things go. So I'm booking things that are refundable and changeable. And Southwest just released its summer flight schedule very recently. So I was booking all the flights with my points. But right now, I'm actually double booked for July. I either am doing a Disney cruise to Alaska or I'm going to Aulani, assuming that one of the two of those can be done. And I am about to reschedule a Disneyland vacation that I have now rescheduled like 3 or 4 times. And maybe for late spring or early summer, we'll see.
Well, we firmly believe that safe and responsible travel is possible. And here's to hoping you get all those trips on the books and not have to make any more cancellations, Leslie. So how about you, Jessica? Any plans for Hawaii? I know that Aulani has reopened for visitors. So tell us about that.
Oh, yes. And Leslie and Dusty from Mice Chat did a whole episode on Aulani. Hawaii has a special place in my heart. Have family there, and we go quite often, but I've never done the Disney Resort there. So it's definitely on my list. And lucky enough, we were actually able to get over to Hawaii earlier in 2020. But, the islands just call to me, and they're pretty much always on my list. My husband keeps trying to get me to go somewhere like on the East Coast. And I'm like, but how about Hawaii?
I understand that. I've never been to Hawaii, so I think that would be beautiful. And to get you to Aulani would be perfect. So, Becca, any travel plans for you? I know you've been hoping for that Disney World dream vacation, and now is a great time to book that future trip and lock in the prices.
Oh man, I just can't bring myself to pull the trigger on that one because of the flight, but I do want to go. And so I am going to be looking into maybe booking a Walt Disney World trip, and I'll do it through Getaway Today because, we love them. They're our partners, and we get great deals through them, and they do the concierge service and all that good stuff for there. But we'll definitely hit up Disneyland once it reopens. And then I'll be doing some travel probably with one of my sisters next year that I want to spend some time with. So that's about it. Maybe hitting up some national parks for some variety.
Yeah, I have nothing planned. Not a thing. So I'm going to take all this and I need to talk to my husband because we need something. I need something to look forward to because it's been a long, dry year.
Yes, I think we all do.
Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap this up, let's answer our Would You Rather question, Disneyland edition. We're all going to need a drink to toast the new year or get rid of this one. So where would you rather have a drink at Disneyland? Oga's or Lamplight Lounge? Jessica?
Ooh, so I'm going to pick Lamplight Lounge. That's kind of the original where they tested out drinks before they brought it over to Oga's Cantina and Galaxy's Edge. And I've tried every mocktail on the menu at Lamplight Lounge. And I think I need to pick a favorite out of all of those. Plus, just picture perfect views over there at Pixar Pier. And I'd love that spot.
Okay, how about you, Leslie?
All right, I'm cheating, guys, but I'm going to have to pick a third option. You know what I'm going to pick. It's Trader Sam's. It's definitely Trader Sam's.
Love it.
I'm all about the tiki bar, but any place is good for a Disney cocktail, but good choices, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah, we'll meet you there. Okay, Becca, how about you?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to also go with Lamplight Lounge. I just love that place, and I love their mocktails. They have such fun ones, that are mocktails for those that don't drink, and then they have fun cocktails as well for those that do drink alcohol. So yeah, that's where I'm headed.
Yeah, I agree. Lamplight Lounge is my favorite. I'll go with Leslie did the tiki bar, and then I'll go to Lamplight. I like the fact that they have chairs, whereas at Oga's most of the time you're standing up the whole time. But Lamplight Lounge, we've had some really nice memories made there together, and I think we need to do it again.
Cheers to that.
Yes, that's it for us today, and we thank you so much for joining us. You've been listening to Julie, Jessica, Becca, and Leslie. Stay in touch with us as we move into 2021, and be sure to sign up for the Disneyland with Kids newsletter at disneylandwithkids.info to receive all the up-to-date information and vacation specials as we hear it. And we will be back to share new podcast episodes after a holiday break, so check back for that when it releases in mid-January. Have a happy new year, everyone. See you real soon.